Hi, I'm Cosmic Scowl, the developer behind the PSBBN Definitive English patch. Here's this month's update on everything that's new with PSBBN. This time my main focus has been on improving the core experience and removing any limitations or inconveniences. First, I'll give you a quick rundown of how partitioning works. The first 128GB of the drive contains APA partitions. The remaining space on a drive up to 2TB is partitioned and formatted as exFAT for the storage of PS2 games and apps. APA is the standard environment for PlayStation 2, and 128GB is the maximum capacity supported by PSBBN. The APA partitions contain the PSBBN software, PS2 Linux, the music partitions, and the POPs partition for PS1 games. It also contains a partition for every game and app you install, so they can be launched directly from PSBBN and HDD OSD. The smallest APA partition supported by the PS2 has always been 128MB. That means 128MB for every game and app installed. For 100 games that would mean 12.8GB, for 700 games that would mean 89.6GB, leaving only around 20GB for the POPs and music partitions. Cramming PSBBN, the music partition, POPs partition and the launcher partitions for every game all onto the first 128GB of the drive has been a bit of a balancing act. The larger the POPs and music partitions, the fewer games that can be displayed in the game collection. Like I said previously, the smallest APA partition supported by the PS2 has always been 128MB. This has now been reduced to 8MB thanks to a custom version of HDL dump and PFS shell from AccuHack. This now means that 700 games only requires 5.6GB compared to the previous 89.6GB, a whopping 16 times less. I've also lowered the minimum capacity for the music partition to 1GB, as I know not everybody makes use of this feature. This means the POPs partition can now be up to 104GB, while simultaneously allowing 800 games and apps to be launched directly from PSBBN and HDD OSD. For full compatibility with the new partitioning scheme, it is highly recommended that you run the PSBBN installer script again and upgrade to the latest version of the PSBBN Definitive Patch, version 2.10. Doing so also brings a number of other advantages, including a link directly to the game collection on the top menu, as well as the removal of the grayed out ISP settings, improved boot time for users without a connected Ethernet cable, modified the startup script to format and initialize the music partition, allowing it to be smaller or larger than before, reduce the delay before button presses are registered when booting into Linux. The PS2 Linux partition now uses ext2 instead of RiserFS, corrections to the English translation, and more. Up until now, the only way to add games and apps was to synchronize everything that's in the games folder on your PC. This made the process very easy. Add new games to the games folder to add games, remove games from the games folder to remove them, then just run the game installer script. This was fine for a majority of people, but if you had insufficient space on your PC to store all your games, it could be a pain. Previously there were workarounds, but now the game installer script has an option to add additional games without syncing, as well as a number of other new features. The game installer has been completely rewritten from the ground up, so let's take a look and see what's new. When you run the game installer script, the first thing you might notice is that you are no longer asked to enter the device name for the PS2 drive. The drive is now automatically detected. You will then be asked if you would like to change the location of the games folder. The games folder is a place on your PC where you put all the games and apps that you want to sync or copy to the PS2 drive. By default, the path is located in the same directory where the scripts are installed. If you change the path, when you run the script again, your custom path will be remembered. You are then given two options: synchronize all games and apps, or add additional games and apps. Synchronize works the same way as before. Put the files you want to sync to your PS2 drive in the games folder on your PC, PS2 ISO or ZSO files in the CD or DVD folders, PS1 VCD files in the POPs folder, and ELF or SAS compliant PSU files in the apps folder. Then select option 1 from the menu. To add additional games, you have a couple of options. Just like synchronizing, you can put your games and apps in the games folder on your PC, or you can add PS2 games and apps directly to the PS2 drive by dragging and dropping them to the appropriate folders. If you want to remove PS2 games and apps, you can just delete them directly from the PS2 drive. As PS1 games are stored in a PFS partition, to install them, your VCD files must be placed in the POPs folder located in the Games folder on your PC. PS1 VCDs can also be manually deleted from the POPs partition if required. Selecting option 2 from the menu will then copy over any new games found in the Games folder. It then creates launcher partitions for every game and app found on the PS2 drive. After you have selected your install type, you will be given a choice of game launchers. You can select from either Open PS2 Loader or Neutrino. You will then be given a summary of all the options you selected. As you can see, the PS2 drive has been detected as /dev/SDF. The location of the games folder is displayed, as well as the install type and game launcher selected. Press any key and the game installer does its thing, creating all the launcher partitions, metadata, artwork for PSBBN, OPL and NHDDL, and icons for HDD OSD. The PSBBN art database continues to grow thanks to user submissions and artwork being automatically contributed when you install games with the Game Installer script. It now has almost 11,000 images for games and over 120 images for homebrew apps. The database receives weekly updates. If your game collection has missing artwork, it's worth running the Game Installer from time to time and you will find that some of those blanks will be filled in. If you notice a game has incorrect artwork, remove the image from the icon/art folder on your PC. Then run the Game Installer script again. You may find this has now been corrected. The HDD OSD icon database has also been receiving updates thanks to user submissions and now has over 500 icons. User Sakatoshi has created a script that makes creating icons even easier. Now there is no need to use the Milkshake 3D app. Just create the textures in GIMP and run the script to create the icons. The script is available for both Windows and Linux. I'll put a link to the script and the HDD OSD icon database in the description. If you make any icons, please submit them to the database for everyone to use. That just about covers everything for this month. If you appreciate the work I'm putting into the PSBBN Definitive English patch and would like to support its continued development, you can contribute to my Ko-fi. You will find a link in the description and the pinned comment. If you want to keep up to date with the latest developments, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter, Blue Sky or Ko-fi. As always, all links will be in the description, but for now, this is Cosmic Scale signing out.